gracious.
Yeah.
Bills and Ravens tied.
Those
and it's
Bills,
the Chiefs.
those great
Then it's the
franchises.
Bengals who didn't even make the playoffs.
Right.
And then the Broncos.
Right, who lost in round 1, but we're going to have something for Kansas City, remember.
Oh, my goodness. Is this disrespectful
It's just dumb.
to the one-time champs? They won a Super Bowl not too long ago.
Well, but this isn't about the Super Bowl. So this
Oh, you
is
should have seen it.
Hold on.
Oh, my goodness.
But this is what's more important, smartass.
I didn't say it either. I'm broke.
This isn't about winning the Super Bowl. This is about winning the AFC.
True.
When's the last time they did that?
Well,
Better question. When's the last time they didn't do that? Even better question. How many times since Patrick Mahomes has been there have they played an AFC playoff game and lost it? The answer is twice. In regulation, 0. In the last 6 years, they've played 14 AFC playoff games. They've won 13 of them. So, and what have they ever played these two teams? They're 5-0 against them. What about in their building? Undefeated in both those places as well. So I say all that. I say all that to say this.
That's
the board. The board. Now listen. We might. Oh, really?
Wow. I think that's part of what Vegas is doing is that they can't win it every year.
The Bills did. They won it 4 years in a row, and they're a travesty.
They've been to the Super Bowl 5 out of the last 6 years.
Yeah.
So I think Vegas is like, they can't do this every year.
No.
They just did the last 3. Lamar and Josh are too good not to ever get to a Super Bowl. Mahomes is coming off 2 down years by his standards. So I think I get what you're saying, but that's the logic. Like, you don't see this in the NFL. A team gets to the Super Bowl every year. And so I think that's what they're doing.
It's not really the third best odds, right? It's the second best because the first 2 are tied.
No, that's why they're the third best. There are 2 teams ahead of them. 2 teams with better odds.
20, it's like barely different, okay?
Well,
but when you look at it, and you look at their season, so they had a great season, but they won a lot of games that people thought they could have lost. They got beat up in the Super Bowl. It's 24-0 at the end of the first half. It was like 34 or whatever. So, but it is because you're looking at what happened at the end of the year. You're looking at the season, and then you're looking at this next season. They haven't added much flash to their team.
What have the Ravens and Bills added?
Hold on. They haven't added much to it. Mahomes is a year older.
A year old?
Kelsey's a year older. So
Kelsey, a year older is real.
Yeah,
Kelsey is
Kelsey's
real.
short.
And offensively, they were middle of the pack in every offensive category, which is down for what Mahomes has been. So when you look at the odds of them being able to repeat the success that they had last season, it's not trending that way.
Well, it is trending that way.
Well, based off of how the year ended, it was pretty dismal.
Listen,
so you could see why.
Whose year ended worse, the Bills or the Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been to a Super Bowl and lost, so I don't know what that feels like.
That is unbelievable.
And I don't know what it's like to lose like 40. What was it? 40. I know they got those.
Listen, here's what I know. I know that.
So
Here's what I know.
But it was
Soaked. We still playing.
Oh, they really? Oh, they just scored?
Mahomes throwing,
Doesn't matter.
Mahomes throwing, taking snaps. There's green confetti on him. Hi. Sorry, friend of the show. I'm just
Not
saying.
anymore. You guys aren't invited to the open of 1587 Steakhouse.
Oh man, I am cutting that and making that a separate clip in itself. I gotta turn that into an Eagles clip because that is hilarious. That is what the Eagles did. But no, this is obviously not disrespectful to the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just not. Look what we're looking at here. Plus 350, and it's tied for the Bills and the Ravens, and the Chiefs are 370. They're essentially in a 3-way tie between the Bills and the Ravens. Okay? And so you have the Bills, the Ravens, and Chiefs. You know the 3 teams that have consistently been in the top of the AFC year after year. Like, that makes sense. That's okay. That's okay. And it's consistently come down to like a final play, whether they're playing the Ravens, whether they're playing the Bills, whether the Bills and the Ravens are playing each other. Like, the 3 of these teams, it keeps coming down to just like, oh man, it's all coming down to this. And so after the Chiefs are coming off of being dominated in the Super Bowl, and you know, that's kind of where you get with this. But like, it's essentially a 3-way tie. This is not disrespectful to Kansas City. Nick tried to do the same thing when he said it was disrespectful for them to not be favored to win the Super Bowl back when it was, I think it was in the conference championship round. So I think it was when there was 4 teams maybe 8, maybe like before. I forget exactly, but it definitely wasn't going into the Super Bowl because it was like you had the Bills and stuff, and the Commanders were up there. And he's like, this is disrespectful because the Eagles were favored. And it's like, no. People think that the Eagles have an easier path to get to the Super Bowl, therefore they have better odds. And they were like, this is disrespectful, this is disrespectful. And lo and behold, the Eagles literally dominated the Kansas City Chiefs. So no, it wasn't disrespectful. It was accurate. But let's not pretend like this is like the most egregious thing out there. If the Chiefs were where the Bengals were at plus 900, then I could understand. I could totally understand. If they were below the Broncos, then I could understand. Makes total sense. Total sense. But there's just nothing disrespectful about this. The Chiefs are still considered to be a top team in the NFL and a top team in the AFC. There's nothing disrespectful about that. And like I always say, what happened in the past is not a predictor or an indicator of what happens in the future. If that was the case, then the Kansas City Chiefs would have beaten the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Instead, that's not what happened. And so, yeah, this team is going to change and morph. They do have some players that are getting older. They do have some new, younger guys coming up. It's going to be interesting to see who this Kansas City Chiefs team is. I'm not the one predicting that they're going to be trash and awful and that they're not going to win their division and that they're not going to make the playoffs. Like, you got like people like J-Mac. I just did a video where he was saying, oh, the Chiefs aren't even going to make the playoffs. Like, I'm not making those predictions at all. I think as long as you got Spags, Mahomes, and Andy, this team will always be a threat. This team will always be tough. But I am curious to see what happens with, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, that O-line. I'm interested to see what happens when Hollywood Brown is actually fully healthy with this team for like the long haul. I'm interested to see, will this defense take a step back? They've been really elite and special for the last couple of years. You typically don't continue that for like 5, 6, 7 years in a row. It's just not the way how it happens. I know they were saying that the offense has been trending downward. I feel like we'll see a bounce back here. Do I think it's going to be back to like what it was in like 2019 or, whenever he had his like real peak year? Like, I'm not necessarily thinking that either. I think this offense will be better than it was last year. But there were real question marks around Patrick Mahomes' play last season. And that was before the injuries. That was beyond just the injuries that they dealt with. Like, Patrick Mahomes was making bad throws and bad decisions. He just was. And then he did get rocked in the Super Bowl. Granted, he went against the best team. So you can't 100% hold that against him. He went against the best team in the NFL, the Super Bowl winners, who obviously won in dominant fashion. So I don't hold that against him at all. But at the same time, it kind of highlighted that not even Patrick Mahomes was able to overcome that. And so it kind of gave this heavy dose of reality of like, oh, Patrick Mahomes is not the Terminator. He's a human being. He needs a good team around him. He needs weapons. He needs a run game. He needs an O-line. He needs some good receivers, etc., etc., etc. So, I think the pendulum swinging is probably swinging a little bit too far in the other direction. Not in terms of these odds here, but I think, people were gassing up the Chiefs too much, trying to make it sound like that this team was just the most inevitable, most unstoppable juggernaut of a force for years. And if they three-peated, they were going to be considered to be the greatest team in the history of the universe. Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT, etc., etc. And now, since they lost, people are on the other side and they're like, Chiefs are done. It's over. See ya, never again. And I don't think that either. It's always somewhere in the middle. And this is what I said even leading into that Super Bowl, where I said it doesn't make sense that if Patrick Mahomes beats the Eagles and three-peats, he's considered the GOAT. And if they lose, he's not. And now he's like far from the GOAT. Like it just can't come down to that. If Jalen Hurts threw a couple interceptions and the Chiefs defense played significantly better and the O-line held up a little bit better and the Chiefs end up winning that game, 28-24 or something, or, even uglier, like, 14-10 or something, some like weird, bizarre score. Now the Chiefs are the best dynasty ever and Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. But now they lose and he's not. Like, it can't fall off that much. It just can't, honestly. So I think we've always had this distorted perception on how to view the Chiefs and this team. And to a degree, understandably so, because of how great Patrick Mahomes is, because of how great Andy Reid is, because of how great Spags is, because of how great, Tyreek Hill was when he was with them, Travis Kelce, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it makes sense. I get it. But the problem is it's up to the media to cut through to this. It's up to the media to talk about, hey, you know what? Last season in 23 and they won, there were so many moments that they could have lost. And quite frankly, you can make the argument they should have lost. But kudos to them for winning. Kudos to them to outlasting everyone else. When everyone else was falling and slipping, they did not. And so they deserve the credit, but we have to be honest about it. We have to be honest about what that offense looked like. We have to be honest about that defense leading the way. We have to be honest about Patrick Mahomes struggling. And then in 24, seeing a lot of that continuation. And we can talk about some of the injuries. We can talk about some of the other stuff. But we also have to acknowledge, we also threw like one interception in like every game for the first like 5, 6, however many games. That wasn't because of like, oh, well, this guy got injured and that guy got injured. It's like, no, these were bad decisions, bad throws. And yeah, they came away with wins, but it's okay to acknowledge, you know what? They should have lost that game against the Broncos. Credit to the Chiefs for pulling it out. Credit to them. But we know historically they should have lost that. That should have been a game that they lost. It just should have been. We know that, again, the Chiefs, which I praised, Spags dialing up that blitz against the Buffalo Bills, unbelievable. Josh Allen trying his best to find through. Again, all the credit to Spags in that defense. But then his tight end drops that ball. He catches that. At a minimum, they're at least going to probably kick a field goal and tie it. Then who knows what happens. And maybe even so, score a touchdown, the Chiefs don't get the ball back. And again, I'm not saying that's why the Chiefs got to the Super Bowl or this, that. Like, I'm not making that argument either. But it's still okay to have this conversation as a whole. To just try to be like, how good was this team? How great was this team? How bad was this team? How lucky was this team? When they came away with some close wins, was it because of their greatness? Was it because of luck? Was it because of execution? Was it because of Mahomes? Andy? Was it because of the failure of the other team? And like anything, it was a mix. Some games they won, it was because of the absolute failure of the other team. Some games they won, it's because Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Spags have been there a million times. It's a combination of all of these factors. And from my viewpoint, it's always important to try to figure out how and why in each moment, rather than just automatically saying a win is a win and they found a way and this is what the Chiefs do. Like, no. Get to the reality of the situation. Really unpack the game. And don't just be like, oh, well, lots of teams get like, or well, lots of teams need that bounce. Like, no, try to figure it out. You're right. Both teams got a little bit lucky. Where did the luck bounce, fall? Did it equalize? So now whoever won it, you can really credit to the winner? Or could you be like, yeah, there was a couple lucky bounces for both teams, but like this really changed the game or this really changed the momentum. It's important to kind of look for those moments. That's how you more accurately assess a team and what you're seeing. Otherwise, it would just be wins and losses, and you would just pick the teams with the best record. And if that was the case, the Chiefs had the best record and should have beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl, and they didn't. They didn't. The Lions were the number 1 seed. They should have went to the Super Bowl, and they didn't. So we know it's not just win-loss record. We know that. You have to truly see. That's what's always funny. We talk about like, oh, it just matters. In football, there's no style points. It's only about wins. And it's like, okay, but if that's the case, then the best team should always have the best record. And yet, that's rarely the case. Year after year after year, we do not see the 1 seed in the NFC and the 1 seed in the AFC going against each other. We just don't see it unfold that way. If we did, again, sports betting and gambling would be the easiest thing. And it's not. The underdog, the underdog would always lose. They would always lose. Teams at home would always win. We just know it's not like that. So I just think it's so important to try to really evaluate who the Kansas City Chiefs are, who Patrick Mahomes are. Don't fall prey to the extreme, like, they're the best team in the history of the universe. No one can stop them. It's Patrick Mahomes. Never doubt them. Oh, Patrick Mahomes always makes it the AFC Championship game. Okay, cool. Enjoy the fandom, but you get further from the reality. Because the same person who said, don't doubt that Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs is unstoppable, the same person who said that was shocked that they got absolutely annihilated and that Patrick Mahomes played horrendous in the Super Bowl. Horrendous. But also don't be the guy that's just like, he played horrendous in the Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes is trash. The Chiefs are bad. They're overrated. They're never winning again. Like, don't be that guy either. Be the guy that faces reality. Be the guy that accurately assesses things. And don't cry wolf about disrespect. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Kansas City Chiefs? Do you think it's disrespectful to Kansas City to be essentially in a three-way tie with the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens to win the AFC? You know, odds that are created back in April. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.